Well, it's time for Culture now, and we're joined by France 24's Eve Jackson, who's been speaking to a female artist who escaped from Afghanistan and who's now in Paris.
That's right. The artist and curator Rada Akbar was based in Kabul and escaped to Paris last week. She's in quarantine here at the moment. She'd been working with the French authorities to try and get some of her artwork out over the past few months. But when she felt she could no longer stay there due to safety reasons, they actually got her out. She's known for her striking self-portraits that represent independence and heritage. She has an annual exhibition that's called Abazanan, which translates as Superwomen. Now, it's an installation that's on every year that honours Afghan women who've shown strength and resilience in the face of misogyny and patriarchal oppression. It was forced online this year because she received death threats. In her interview, I actually asked her what did she think would have happened to her if she'd stayed in Kabul. Have a listen.
What would happen to me? They would either put me in prison or would kill me. What they had done to hundreds of people, and they targeted them and they killed them since last September. And amongst them were, most of them were women, and every one of them were young, established people, as activists, as artists, as writers, as journalists, as judges. I think that is what they would have done to me and to everyone else who managed to leave the country, to flee the country.
Now, we might not often hear about Afghan female artists, but there are actually many of them. And because of the crisis, their voices have finally been given some space in international media. One of Afghanistan's most prominent filmmakers, Sarah Karimi, she also fled Kabul to Ukraine. Let's find out now about her journey to this point.
Suspense, tension, and a foreboding sense of urgency. This frantic escape from Afghanistan may resemble a scene from an action movie, but for Sarah Karimi, it was all too real. The filmmaker had pledged to stay in her home country come what may, but when the Taliban took over, she decided to evacuate and headed to the airport in Kabul, where the situation was chaotic.
The moment that we missed the first airplane, it was the most sad moment in my life, because I thought that, okay, we cannot go anymore, we stay. And then I started again. You know why? Because I am a fighter. I never give up. I never ever give up.
With the help of Turkish and Ukrainian authorities, Sarah and her family are now in Kiev. Heading up the Afghan Film Organization, the country's national arts institution, Karimi has built up a celebrated career in cinema. Her feature Hava Maria Maisha had support from actress Angelina Jolie and was applauded at the Venice Film Festival in 2019.
کی هستی؟
فرید برات گل فرستاده.
حالا اینجا افغانستان است، آمریکا نیست.
Now the director fears for the future of the arts, and most of all, for the fate of the women who remain in Afghanistan.
Don't keep silent, please, please, please. And I beg you, please, tell to your husband not to give them recognition. If they give the Taliban political recognition, if they accept them, they will destroy our lives, women's lives.
Concerns echoed by photographer Rada Akbar, whose art has often explored feelings of loss, grief, and oppression within Afghan society. Her exhibition, Abarskanan, was released online on International Women's Day. It zooms in on powerful female figures and the victims of targeted killings.
Dear lost treasures, I feel deeply saddened to be here today. It feels devastating to give my words to you today. Writers, activists, human rights defenders, mothers, fathers, children.
Akbar's practice was a defiant and triumphant act of opposition until very recently, when she too had to leave Afghanistan. Yet her portraits send a poignant message that artists and women cannot be erased.
Some fascinating and very courageous women there.
There certainly were. And the artist there, Rada Akbar, is in quarantine here in Paris, and you can watch the whole of my interview with her on France 24 at 5:15 or catch up with it online later at france24.com.
Thank you very much, Eve. Well, that's all for this bulletin. We'll leave you with a roundup from the world of sports, and we'll be back with more news in just a moment.